Morning. It's time to go over our answers to the review worksheet. So this will be the review week worksheet that involves metric system and significant figures. So it should look like that is the review worksheet. So the first number says, give an example of a quantitative and a qualitative measurement. Quantitative, remember, was the thing that is a number. So it's like 12 basketballs, 15 apples. Those are something that you can count. It's a quantity. Qualitative is descriptive, like the firework was blue or the firework blew green. So those are descriptive things about them. Number two, describe the difference between accurate and precise measurements. Remember, accuracy means how close you are to the right answer. Precision is answers that are reproducible, answers that are all in the same area. We keep talking about the idea that target and measurements that happen to be really, really close together. If the answers are really, really far apart, then they are not precise. Right? And accuracy, again, is being close to that right answer. Number three, what are two advantages to using a metric system? One is it's easy to convert from one to another. We talked about in class the idea of somebody running 3.5 yards on a football field. And if I want to know how many inches that is, well, you got to go 3 yards there's 3 feet in a yard, so 3 times 3, that's 9, plus a half a yard would be 1.5 feet, so that makes 10.5. Each foot, so that's 10.5 feet. Now each foot is 12 inches. So 10.5 feet times 12 inches, that's 120, and half of a foot is 126 inches, right? But if you use the metric system, all you simply have to do is you just move the decimal back and forth is all that has to happen. So it's a lot easier to convert from one unit to another. The other thing is that everyone else in the world uses it. Remember, there's only 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system, and we as the United States are one of them. So we've got to catch up with the rest of the world. And utilize the metric system. And if you remember what we talked about in class, who is it that's going to move us forward in the idea of using the metric system? It's going to be the businesses, because businesses are the ones that are making deals with other places in the world, so they are already utilizing the metric system all the time. Right? So we are going to convert. This is my prediction, but it's also what I see by going out into the manufacturing facilities, is that they are utilizing the metric system already. Number 4, what's the difference between mass and weight? Well, mass is the amount of matter, how much stuff you're made up of, right? Specifically the matter that's inside of you. Weight is the polar gravity pulling down on you. Okay? Here on Earth, we are so familiar with the polar gravity of the Earth, but if we go up to the moon, then all of a sudden our polar gravity is less because the moon is so much smaller. But the mass of myself would be exactly the same. I'm still made up of the same amount of matter. Right, so mass is how much matter you're made up of, and weight is the polar gravity. All right, then we get to number 5. Calculate the density of a gold necklace with the following measurements. Then we got to decide, is it gold? Right, because gold's density is 19.3. So in doing this one, you have to go density equals mass divided by volume. Right? And when you do the test, the other thing I want you to do is write down the equation that you need. That is worth 1 point if you write down the equation. Right? The next point is take that and place the numbers in. And it says we have a mass of 40.53. So here's our mass, 40.53 grams. And we have a volume of 2.10 milliliters. So this part is worth 1 point. Then do the math. Use your calculator that's on your computer and go 40.53 divided by 2.10. And if you do that, you're going to get an answer for this one. Density equals 19.3. Right? And this piece right there, that answer, that's worth 1 point. And then you also need to have a unit of grams per milliliter, because it's grams over milliliters. Neither one of them crosses out, so they both stay there. And this is worth 1 point. Right? So if you put everything down, then this question's worth 1, 2, 3, 4 points, right? Just to point out, if you didn't write anything down and you put at the end and you put down, well, density equals 17, do you get any points? None. You get none. You didn't write down the equation. You didn't write down what you're doing. You wrote down an answer of 17. You didn't give me units, and I can't look back at it and go, why did you end up with 17? Right, where did it go wrong? Now, in the reverse of this, let's say you wrote down the equation. You wrote down this part. You wrote down density equals 17 grams per milliliter. Now, what am I going to take off? I can take off 1 point for getting the wrong answer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look back at it and go, oh, well, you should have got the right answer. You must have typed something wrong in the calculator because you set it up correctly. So by setting it up and showing me, you can get more points on the test. All right. So I'll erase that and get rid of it. All right. So remember to make sure that you show your work, and that's what you're going to see on the test. Is it tells you to show your work. That's what I mean by show your work. All right, number 6, list the steps of the scientific method and describe what was done during each step. On the test, I'm going to tell you that it won't be listing them like this. What it's going to be is I'm going to give you a problem. It's going to be a problem that you're all very familiar with. Nothing that's like unknown to anybody, right? What you have to do is you have to show me how you would solve this problem utilizing the scientific method. So the first thing, the problem, remember, is stated as a question. So that's what's going to be given to you as a question. Second, then what you have to do is you got to write a hypothesis. So you're going to have to write a hypothesis based on that question. And remember, my advice for you in the notes was write it as an if, blah, 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 then, blah, blah, blah statement. And if you do that, I'm going to have a really hard time marking it wrong. Right? It's really hard to write one as an if-then statement that isn't testable. Therefore, it would be a hypothesis. Then you have to go to the experiment and describe a procedure as to how you would do this experiment. Now, an important piece to this is you got to have 2 groups. You got to have control, and you got to have an experimental group. And how many things need to be different between those 2? 1 thing. And that's what you have to show me, is that there's only 1 thing different between them. Then you can make up your own data, because obviously you're not going to do the experiment on the test. Make up your own data as to what you find out. Then the 4th thing, you're going to do the analysis. So you're going to show me how you would analyze that data. So you may make some chart, graph, some table, a way to describe what you found. And then at the very end, you do the conclusion. And at the conclusion, you're going to tell me whether you accept your hypothesis or reject it based on that data that obviously in this one you made up. All right? But that's what you're going to see on the test. So know that it's not going to list them out. That's not what I'm after. That's what you're going to find in the tests in this course, as long as we're doing the online piece, is because I'm going to say that you get to use your notes and you get to use any of your homework. Then therefore what it's going to be is it's not going to be just word for word answers that you can look up in your notes. It's going to be stuff that you're going to have to take the stuff from your notes and you're going to have to apply. All right. So I will also point out right now, when you read the rules concerning the test, if I do a search of any sentence that's on your test and I find it on the internet that somebody else wrote that, that can cost you one of 3 things. 1, 0 points for that question. Number 2, 0 points for the entire test. Number 3, a referral to the office to Mr. Whiteley and Mrs. Thomas with the idea that you were cheating. And then they will deal with that per the handbook for the school. So don't cheat. Just utilize your notes and answer the question the best of your ability. Right? So let's do it that way. All right, on to number 7. What metric measurement would you use to do the following? You're looking at meters, liters, or grams. So if you're looking for length, doesn't matter what we're measuring. The key word there, length. Because it's length, it's a meter. Mass of a bag of apples. Again, doesn't matter what we're measuring. Keyword, mass. Because it's mass, it's the gram. And then the third one, volume of gasoline. Again, doesn't matter what you're measuring, but because you're talking volume, then it's the liter is what we're after. All right. Number 8, convert the following. To convert these, in order to do this, we need that scale, which will be on the test. DK over DA, the standard, deci, centi, milli, blank, blank, micro, blank, blank, nano. All right, so there's the list. So, and actually, even if it isn't on the test, you get to use your notes, so you should have this in your notes. Okay. So the very first one you are given, you have blank grams equals 246.3 centigrams. So we are starting with the thing that's got a number, which happens to be centigrams. There's centigrams. We're trying to go to grams, which is the standards. That's where we're trying to go. So that's 1, 2 jumps, and we went to the left. So this decimal is going to go 1, 2 jumps over, so you should get 2.463 would be your answer. All right. Sorry I asked you all right. Obviously, the video, you can't answer me. Sorry. Just used to doing that. All right, second one. We've got blank liters equals 0.47 kiloliters. So kiloliters right there. We're going to liters. That's the standard. So this is 1, 2, 3 jumps. This time to the right. So our decimal is going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. So this is 470 liters. Next one. Get rid of this. Next one, we have blank UG equals 2.4 mg. But UG, remember, I can't make the Greek symbol on my computer, so the best I can do is make a U, but no, it's actually that Greek symbol with a little tail in the front. That means micro. So that's, well, actually, we're going to start with the one that's got a number, which is milli. So that's right there. We're going to micro. That's down here. Don't forget, you got to include those blanks in between. So that's 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. So this is going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. So we end up with 2,400 micrograms is the answer. And the last one. Last one says blank km equals 32 m. Now remember, m is not this m. This is milli. It's got to be millimeter, milliliter, milligram. So if it's just an m by itself, it's the standard is where we're starting. And we are going to k, that's way up here. So this is 1, 2, 3 jumps to the left. So the decimal is there. It's going to go 1, 2, 3. So it's 0.032 kilometers. All right. Then we go on to question number. Flip the page over. Number 9, identify how many significant figures are there in each number. So first one, 176 grams. All of those are significant. So it is 3 is the right answer. The second one there is 0.00043 liters. Well, all those zeros are in front of the number, therefore they are not significant. So it would be 2. And the third one, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. We don't have to worry about that times 10 to the 23rd to figure out significant figures. That tells us where the decimal is supposed to be. So we are only looking at 6.02 in regards to knowing significant figures. So the 6 and the 2 are both significant. That gives me 2. But then that 0 is between significant figures. So it is also significant. So the answer is 3. Excuse me, the last one. Oh, that's a big one. But we've got the 3, the 2, and the 4. All 3 of those are significant because they're not zeros. Then we have those zeros that are between the 3 and the 2, and a 0 between the 2 and the 4. So those are both significant because they're between significant figures. So that takes us up to 5. Then we have a 0 at the end of the number, and it is to the right of the decimal, so that one's also significant. So my answer is 6 is the right answer. All right. Question number 10, describe how someone can use a balance to find the mass of an object and be precise but not accurate. What's wrong? We talked about this in class about the person that was practicing shooting on a target, and all the bullets, instead of hitting in the center, they always hit up in the corner. The thing was, the gun was wrong. So there's something wrong with the device. The other thing we talked about was you go back to find the weight of something, the balance of something, and you would also find out that something is wrong with it. So there's something wrong with the device. All right, we're going to stop right there, move on to part number 2 to catch the rest of this. See you in a bit.